that's the first thing I do want to talk to you about, Sheriff. What will you be announcing tonight about the body cams?
So this is the kind of the culmination of the 6 town hall meetings that we had. So we got a lot of feedback from the community. So we want to kind of voice back to them, hey, here's what you told us about body cameras, and that'll impact policy development as we move forward. We will tonight release a draft policy that we've been working on for several months. Keep in mind that'll change as we're going to get officers' input from the pilot program that'll start the first week in July. And as we begin to get that input, that'll impact the policy. Down the road, as we roll the cameras out to a larger number of officers, that we're going to learn things that we didn't know, and that'll impact policy as well. So, but tonight is kind of the first draft of where we start in terms of the policy, and the start of the pilot, which will be the first week of July. So those are the 2 things tonight, barring any additional hurdles, but we believe first week of July is what we see. So that's the 2 new things tonight that people will hear at the town hall meetings. The
policy, can you give us a summary of what the policy is going to be? I mean,
it's pretty comprehensive, so I can tell you, as you can imagine. So we've looked at, oh my gosh, I think we've looked at more than 50 policies from around the country and pulled out the things that we feel like can be starting points for us. Again, we're going to have to figure out what works for us here in Jacksonville, but some of the key points are the cameras will be allowed to be turned on and off by the officers in certain situations, and so we want to be able to work through that in the pilot as well. So what actually is doable and what's not doable, that type of thing. So we'll figure that out during the pilot. The legislature, some of the changes that they made this year about the officers being able to review video before they write a report, that's obviously in the policy as well. So again, we'll release that tonight, and it's a 20-some-odd page, pretty comprehensive policy. And again, it's just a start. So we hope to get some more feedback from everybody involved on that.
Why would you want to turn it off?
Well, that's a good question. So if you look at a community like Chicago Police Department, so when they started their body camera program, it was turn it on at roll call, turn it off at the end of the shift. So they were catching conversations with wives, they were catching bathroom breaks, they were catching things that were unnecessary, first of all, and they got sued by the union and were forced to shut down the whole program until they could correct that. So you need to be smart about those type of things, but you need good oversight too, when the camera's on and when it's off. Technology is going to help us, we believe in that, in terms of some things that officers do that will automatically turn the camera on. Again, things that we work through the pilot, things that we learn as we continue to dig into this, but there has to be the ability to turn it on and off. There's a great video from Bradford County where you have a body camera video where you have an officer looking for, a number of officers looking for a missing child, and a woman comes out of a trailer and she says, if you turn that off, I'll tell you where he's at. And the officer turns the camera off. So, and a great decision, obviously, like that. So we want to obviously give officers some discretion in that area. We're going to provide a lot of oversight, a lot of guidance, a lot of training in that, but they will have the ability to turn it on and off.
And I guess the reason I ask that, can they, like in a situation where that would be vital to have, can they turn it off? If they're coming in with guns, if they're coming in where you would want that camera?
Sure, and so I think as you're looking at officers' body camera video, if you have the same officer or the same squad that never has a video and it's never on, then you've got an issue that you got to work with. So, but again, I think the ability to turn it on and off is important. We'll still capture a lot of what we need to capture. Most officers are going to comply with the policy. They want to comply with the policy. So again, we'll just make sure that through training and oversight and those type of things that we're able to get the best video that we can out of the program.
Why would you want them to be able to review that before writing their report? Wouldn't you want what the officer thought and say, oh, that's not what happened?
No, actually, I mean, you want the best report you can have at the end of the day. So keep this in mind too. We will use body camera footage. They're going to help us make better cases for court as well. So you want to be able to see what happened. So what the officer saw or didn't see is going to be obviously part of his report, but he's going to be able to review that camera footage as well and put that in there. This is not the body camera program is not a gotcha program for officers. That's just not what it is. It is really just another tool to provide us another piece of investigative material that we can use to build cases and in a variety of types of incidents. So there's really a benefit to having them do that to make sure they get the best report written. And keep in mind, what's on camera is what happened. So you want that in the report.
And I think that's important. You said it's not they got you for officers.
Right.
Like we saw today, the body camera video released from the Pulse nightclub that was released today.
Wow.
And it showed you what officers went through in trying to tell put that down. Do you see it as a useful tool in situations like that to show the public what actually goes on?
I do. I think you're going to see a lot of, and you're seeing it around the country already, you're going to see a lot of what law enforcement goes through every day, the good and the bad that they have to face and grapple with, and that footage is going to be out there. It's going to give people an insight into what men and women around the country who do this job, again, grapple with and face every single day.
And then for releasing that video, how is that going to work? I mean, is it going to take, some time before you say there is an officer-involved shooting? Is that then something you release immediately? Is it something you're going to hold for a while? How will that work?
So in the case of, any video, so I'll put it like this, is going to be subject to the public records laws, obviously. So, and again, we're keeping everything for 90 days, and then investigatively things that we have to keep, which we believe, based on what we learned from around the country, is about 10% of the video that you take winds up being categorized in some, investigative or a complaint or something like that. So that video will be subject to just like any other information in a case. So if we have a video that's involving a police shooting, ideally you don't want to release that until you've gotten to the point where it's deep enough into the investigation that you can release that. You don't want that video tainting new witnesses and that type of thing. So there's always the ability to release a video like that if we think there's a benefit to help the community, if we think that the community's in a crisis and they need to see what really happened, we can do that. But ideally, you want to maintain the integrity of those investigations. And just because you have a video, that's no different. It's just, again, another piece of that investigative tool. There's a great commentary from Daytona Beach. You had a police shooting, excuse me, where you had a guy in the community kill his girlfriend. The account of the police shooting in the community was completely different than what happened. The chief of police in Daytona Beach decided to release the body camera footage. And it clearly showed the officers were trying to save her life, trying to keep him, trying to get him to put the knife down. You may have seen that video. It's been played in Northeast Florida a lot. But he released the video, again, because it was, to counter a narrative out there that was incorrect. So we have the ability to do that. We won't do it every time, again, because we want to try to protect the integrity of the investigations. But there is an ability to be able to do that. And that'll be a decision that I'll make in conjunction with the state attorney, about the timing of that type of thing.
But eventually, after, it would be, because it would be public record.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. So this video is like anything investigatively. At some point, it'll be public record and it'll be released.
Got it. Have you figured out costs, storage, and all of that yet?
So that constantly is changing. So when we started the project, we said $3 to $5 million startup, and we'll come in underneath that. It looks like, and then we said about $3 million a year to run the program, and it looks like we come in underneath that too. What's happening now is you've got some vendors who have created service plans. So you buy a camera and you pay a fee for the camera, and it includes unlimited storage, it includes software updates, it includes, so it's smart on their part to begin to package things that way. And those things are ever evolving. So when we first launched off into the program, you had to buy the camera, you had to buy the storage, you had to buy the software, and you owned it all. So camera broke, unless you had warranty issues.
So this is kind of what you're looking at.
It's kind of evolved into...
The storage is going to be in the cloud that's shared with somewhere.
Sure. So they'll have CGIS certified storage space. Amazon and Google have gotten in that business, as you can imagine. So they will store, again, everything there for 90 days. After 90 days, it goes away. So that's one of the things that as we roll out the program out, where a majority of officers are wearing the camera, setting the expectation for the community. So the 90 days is a perfect example. If you want to make a complaint about an interaction you have with an officer, you can make it any time. But if you make it after 90 days,
it could be gone.
You can still make the complaint, we'll still investigate it, but camera footage won't be able to be part of it because it'll be gone. So those are the kind of things that we want to continue to push out, as the program rolls out, to set the appropriate level of expectation with the community.
Just to make sure I got it, tonight you're going to be announcing starting the first week of July or around July.
Right.
You're you're gonna try it out with 40 cameras, is that?
Yeah, 50 to 60.
Oh, 50 to 60.
Yeah, 3 different vendors over, and we have to do each vendor individually, so it's a 90-day.
And the trial period is for how long?
So 3 90-day,
Oh,
3 90-day,
days.
yeah, 3 90-day segments that we'll do, and probably a 30-day break in between to be able to transition, obviously. So we'll do that, and again, be able to collect that information. Again, the pilot is it's a technical pilot, so nobody here has ever worn a camera.
Right.
So we don't know, you know, not only the on and off, but where do you wear it? How does it impact the getting in and out of the car? Where's, you know, those little things that people don't think about. That's what this pilot is for. It's not, do we want body cameras? It's what features in a body camera do we want? How does this impact what the officers do every day? Because we want to minimize that impact, obviously, as much as we can. So we'll learn a lot from this pilot program, and that's really the you know, the catalyst for doing it this way.
This is the final meeting tonight?
Final meeting this time. So this is the first conversation we're having with the community about body cameras, not the last. When we have our camera and we have the final policy, even though, you know, we'll continue to learn about body cameras and different things, and we'll continue to adjust the policy. But we will do the town hall meetings again. We'll do another series of town halls to say, hey, here's our camera, here's what it looks like, here's where the officer wears it. You know, we'll nail down if you want to make a complaint, you've got 90 days to do that. Here's when they turn it on, here's when they turn it off, and we'll share all that with the community in another series. It feels like another series of town hall meetings is the best way to get that done.
What were some of the main questions people had at these meetings?
It was some of the same ones you see from around the country. It was when do you turn it on, when do you turn it off? You know, can the officer review it? Can the officer edit the video? Which is no, the officer can't edit video. So things like that in terms of transparency and integrity of the system, those type of things. What can the video be used for? That was a question that we got quite a bit. So obviously it can be used for, you know, prosecution in a case. It can be used for evidence in obviously in a crime. It can be used for evidence in a complaint against an officer. So there are a lot of things that the video footage will be used for. So, again, the basic things that you hear around the country when people ask about body cameras, we heard the same things here.
Are you excited about it?
I am, yeah. I tell you what, I think it's a big sea change for our organization. It really is. But the majority of members approve of the program, you know, the men and women here. And I think they see the value in it. And I believe that within the next 5 or 10 years around the country, you know, when you put a uniform on, you're going to wear a camera. That's just the wave. I don't think this is a fad or it's not going away. So we've, I believe, done a good job up to this point of taking our time, making sure that we learn from agencies. That a lot of agencies got out really quick and had to kind of drop back and punt. And so we wanted to make sure that we did it right, that we built something we could sustain, and we've done a good job of that. So we've got another, again, a very active part of the process, but we've got just about another year with the pilot and that type of thing before we put our cameras on the street.
Got it. And do you think, a lot of people think that this is going to be the answer to everything?
Some people do, and you know, back to setting the expectation for the community, this is not a magic bullet. This does not fix every ill that our city has, or you know, that in terms of relationships with the community. It helps. It's a big help, I think. But again, it's about setting the appropriate expectation of what this is. It's a tool. It's a really good tool and a really powerful tool. But it's just that. It's just a piece of the puzzle.